So, very good morning to all of you. This is our third video in the series of video on the video evidence. The first video we had on the what are the challenges with respect to the video evidence. Second video was on the admissibility, and now third video is on the authenticity of the video in court. So we are now talking about the video authenticity of the video on the basis of the technology that we will discuss in the next two sessions. So just let me share my PPT with you. So friends, in the last video we have discussed about the admissibility. Admissibility has two components. The component number one is what is the nature of evidence, whether it is original or whether it is a copy. And the second is the source. Source means the from where it is coming or who has created it. So basically, that the second part is the mode of proof. And when we talk about the admissibility, we have the provision in the law which deals with the admissibility. But as far as the authenticity is concerned, there is no provision, and it is a bigger challenge. Because it may happen if a person comes to the court to prove the admissibility, he may prove the nature of evidence, he may also prove the source, but still it can be a false evidence. Like the one case which we have discussed earlier, where one of the media house has conducted the sting and they have filed in the court. And here the important thing is that it was accompanied by a certificate under section 65B and it has become admissible. But when it was played in the court, it was found that there is a PLC bar and cursor which is reflected inside the video, which was the conclusive evidence to the effect that it was forged. So I think now it would have been clear to you that the admissibility may make a forged document admissible, but authenticity has to be proved. Until authenticity is proved, court will not rely upon it. And as we are going to discuss, proving authenticity is a difficult thing as compared to the admissibility. So as we have discussed earlier, the first thing which you have to prove in the court is the relevancy and the admissibility, and then only the issue of the authenticity will come. So if the particular evidence is not admissible, there would not be any question of authenticity. But again, if you have to prove the authenticity, how you are going to prove? So there is no provision in the Evidence Act, CRPC or CPC or the Information Technology Act which laid down how the authenticity has to be proved, or any parameter would have been laid down in any of that. So there is no material how you are going to prove. So it would always be, number one, it would always be contextual, depending on the fact of the case. For example, if you have a material on one particular point coming from the various sources, then even if the video evidence has a less probative value, then still it would serve the purpose and court may rely upon, because there is some other piece of evidence to prove the same. But if there is no other evidence and there is only single piece of evidence which is a video evidence and it could not be proved, case will go. In such case, authenticity has to be much higher. But how you will decide? So you will decide on the basis of the fact of the case. Second, the burden of proof which you have to discharge. For example, in the criminal cases, the burden which is required to be discharged is strict. So that means you have to prove beyond doubt. And but in case of the civil, the burden which is required to be discharged is by 3/4 of the probabilities. So in both the cases, the burden is different. So it would always be a matter of prudence. So basically, what is your experience? How much command you have over the facts, and how you are going to prove? So that all things have to be taken together. So Section 65B was inserted in the Evidence Act in the year 2000. Prior to that, original was almost mandatory in case of the video evidence, in case of the electronic evidence. But after the insertion of Section 65B, the requirement of the original was dispensed with, and a particular evidence would be admissible even if it is a copy. But the one important thing which I would like to mention here, that section 65B does not say that the original is not required to be filed. So there are two ways to look upon it is, number one, you can file the secondary copy without the original, but it does not say that the original is not required to be filed. So that means you have to take a decision depending upon your case whether to file the copy or whether to file the original. So basically, it is a matter of prudence. So the court has also changed its approach. So in two of the prominent cases of the Supreme Court, one is of the Anwar PV, second is of the Sanjay Singh Rao. The court now stated that for the purpose of the reliability, the court will look into admissibility and authenticity, source and authenticity. So basically, the court has also changed its approach. But again, I am telling you that only because the section 65B says that the original is not required for admissibility does not mean that the original is not required to be filed. Because if the burden is strict and you have to prove a thing beyond doubt, you have to file the original. So now we have a very good judgment of Delhi High Court, Kishan Tripathi versus Dust. The judgment given by the division bench laid down a very good proposition, and in fact, it is a holistic approach. So it laid down two tests. One is the system integrity. Second is the record integrity. So system integrity means the system which has produced the electronic evidence must be proved. So again, we are going to the source, the first part, admissibility. So that is the same. Second part is the authenticity. So that part is to be proved by the record integrity. So this is the second test which is laid down by the High Court. And record integrity means from the moment an electronic evidence has been generated to the moment it is being filed in the court of law, its chain of custody must be established beyond doubt. So you have to keep in mind that whenever you have to prove a video evidence, you have to comply with these both tests. Right? Then we have the judgment of Kundan Singh versus State of Delhi. Again, a judgment given by Division Bench of Delhi High Court, a very good judgment. Where the court have stated that to determine the authenticity, the court has to give a finding that the electronic record has not been manipulated or tampered with. And how the trial court will give? The trial court will look into the various factors. And some of the factors are, number one, process to generate the data, how that particular evidence has been generated, so that the court could understand the authenticity of the process also. Second, access control. When it has been generated and kept in a computer, who are the person who are having the access to that particular evidence, and whether there was any control or not, or the intention of the court is look into the fact whether anybody could have access or tamper. So that is the perspective. Third is the storage mechanism. Storage mechanism implies when the electronic evidence has been created and put into storage media. So what were the medias where it have been kept from time to time before it is filed in the court of law? The fourth one, proving the entire chain of custody. So there should not be any break into chain of custody. There should not be any break which is unaccounted for. There should not be any break which you cannot explain. And the last is the possibility of manipulation. So here the very important thing I would like to add is, court have stated that we are not looking for manipulation. We are only looking for possibility of manipulation. So for the opposite party, they are not required to show that it has been manipulated. They are only required to show that it could have been manipulated. So that's the only burden which is on the process side. So when we are going to prove the authenticity, we have to keep these particular things into mind, and we have to comply with all these parameters. So then I am going to discuss about these two sections which are very important, because sometimes a question comes whether the original is required to be maintained or not. See, that challenge here is that a person may manipulate an evidence and file in the court of law, and then he destroys the original, so that manipulation could not be detected. whether it is an intention of legislature. So first is the section 4, which talks about the legal recognition of electronic code. It says that the information should be in electronic code and accessible for subsequent reference. So that means once it is used, once it is relied upon, it should be available for subsequent reference. Second, section 7, which again deals with the retention of electronic record. The first condition to be complied is that the information should be accessible for subsequent reference. So that means original must be maintained, because if the original is not maintained, there would not be any possibility to unearth the manipulation. And in the electronic world, in the cyber world, in the realm of the digital evidence, finding the manipulation from the copy is something which is next to impossible, which is very difficult, and may not be feasible in all cases. So that perspective we need to keep in mind. Then section 7 lay down certain conditions which are also required to be complied. The first of the condition, which is in clause P, that the format should be original. Conditions which are in clause C, that the metadata should be. So what is the metadata that we are going to discuss in the next session in detail. So basically, how the authenticity would be determined is that goes to the basic concept, the local exchange principle, that every contact leave a trace. So when the video is created, the light comes from the lens, it goes into the sensor, then it goes into the chip. Sensor chip lay down its own metadata on the video. So if we have the two camera, even if they are of the same make and model, there would be certain differences into the video, certain parameters which would be different. So that we are going to discuss with the advanced forensic technique, how even a lens, how even a sensor and chip of the two mobile having the same make and model would have a different characteristics of them. So that is possible to determine. So first thing is possible to determine is the source authentication, whether that video has been created from a particular mobile or not. For example, if I have this mobile has the certain characteristics that the moment you create the video, it will put that metadata on the video. So I can find out whether this video has been created from this particular make and model of the mobile. That is feasible. That we are going to discuss in the next session. Second is regarding the forgery. So here is one of the case where the bank officer has committed the theft into the bank, and when the CCTV was analyzed, no clip was found. And later on, when the forensic was done, it was found that the bank officer has removed the certain frames and inserted the previous frames. So the bank was not able to find from the near perusal of the CCTV footage. So advanced forensic was required. So see, forgery can be done in n number of ways. Forgery can be in a frame, forgery can be in the by substituting the number of frames, forgery can be by re-recording. So all these issues we are going to discuss in the next two sessions. So friends, our next session would be on the how to detect a forgery by a prima facie manner, which can even be done by common person, common lawyer, and common IT expert. No forensic examination is required. So that will give you an ability to find out prima facie whether a video is forged or genuine. So for our next video, you can get the information from my Twitter account and also from my YouTube channel. So thank you very much. And if you have any question, you can always write to me on the links which is given into the YouTube, and also you can send me the email or write the comment on my website www.cyberforensic.org. So again, thank you.